me.
We're selling for top dollar, no low balls, no drama, no sorrow. Listen smart, show it strong, get the deal and move along. We're selling for top dollar tonight. Top dollar tonight.
Whoa.
Dollar tonight. We're selling for top dollar tonight. Curb appeal and that first impression. Photo sharp, no room for guessing. Price it right from the very first day. Serious buyers are already on their way. Know your value, know your worth. Best investment on this earth. Let me show you how the pros get paid. We're selling for top dollar, no low balls, no drama, no sorrow. List it smart, show it strong, get the deal and move along. We're selling for top dollar tonight. Top dollar tonight. Top dollar tonight. We're selling for top dollar tonight. Concessions, inspections, we handle it all. Earnest money on the table so it doesn't fall. From the listing to closing, we'll see it through. Top dollar, that's what's waiting for you. We're selling for top dollar, no low balls, no drama, no sorrow. List it smart, show it strong, get the deal and move along. We're selling for top dollar tonight. Top dollar, no low balls, no drama, no sorrow. List it smart, show it strong, get the deal and move along. We're selling for top dollar tonight.
Ooh, all right. I wish y'all could have seen this dog. He was going absolutely crazy for that song. And, you know, I'd really like to know what y'all think about these songs. Do you like that as a part of the webinar or not? Drop me a comment, let me know. Speaking of comments, those are open. So if you have any questions tonight, feel free to write something in the chat. I should be able to see it and we'll address it as quickly as possible. First of all, thank you so much for watching this video. And I truly believe it's going to be a blessing for you. For those of you who don't know, let's just get the elephant in the room out of the way. I'm not sick. I don't have laryngitis. In 24, I was very ill and in the hospital for the majority of that year, in and out of comas. On my first coma, which was in April, when I came to, before I opened my eyes, I could hear the nurses speaking, and they were getting my information wrong about my illness. And I was afraid they were going to mistreat me based on that information. So I felt like I had to tell them what was the matter. But something was in my throat, and I couldn't talk. I didn't know what it was, so I simply pulled it out. I was on the ventilator. And when I did that, I damaged my vocal cords. Now, that being said, I went for weeks after not being able to talk whatsoever. And then, several more weeks, I could only talk in a whisper, and you really couldn't even hear me. They put a trach in. I thought I'd have to have that the rest of my life. So, even though my voice is weak, it's much stronger than it was, and I'm extremely grateful. I can communicate, and that's the main thing. All right, let's get into tonight because we got a lot to cover. All right, I want to start off by thanking you again for attending. You know, selling is emotional and financial. Let me see if I can turn that light on. That might help me. And so tonight is about education. Most likely your home is your biggest investment, and you do not want to make financial decisions of this magnitude on emotions or without all the facts. So tonight is simply to help you to know the facts. Now, to give you some background knowledge on me, because why would you listen to what I have to say if you don't know what I've done? I started in real estate in 2014 as a new agent. I worked for Weichert Realtors, Ford Brothers in Somerset. And at that time, they had offices in Somerset, London, and Mount Vernon, Kentucky. And I'd say probably 40 agents. I was their number one agent every year that I worked for them. In 2018, I started my own company, Realty World Dowling Associates in Somerset. We started with nothing. No listings, no buyers, no agents. In 3 years' time, we had offices in Somerset, London, and Danville. About 30 agents. And we were doing just at $90 million a year in sales. And so in my career, I have successfully managed as agent or broker over 2,000 real estate transactions. I think it's about 2,200 and over $300 million in sales. So I know this business. And when I tell you something, you can take it to the bank. And during my career, I've always looked at myself more as a teacher, which is what my degrees are in, than a salesperson. I'm not ever going to try to get you to do something because it helps me. It's all about what is best for you. And that's how I built my business. And that's one of the reasons why I say folks do well with Dow. All right, let's move on. So, you're thinking of selling. There are many reasons why people sell, such as job change, marriage, children, education, an increase or decrease in wages, or like myself, health. I'm having a hard time seeing my notes. Financial reasons, equity access, downsizing, or upsizing. I'm going to turn the slide out. My paperwork's glaring. Market conditions. Is now a good time to sell. Emotional readiness. Are you prepared to detach from the house? You know, you would think somebody wanting to sell, you wouldn't need to ask that question. But that often comes into play. And you see that when you see a house priced above market or with terms and conditions that make it unappealing to a buyer. It's simple. The seller is not emotionally ready to sell. So one of the first things you need to do once you have decided and you are ready to sell is you need to understand your home's value. Do not be mistaken or fooled or misled. Online estimates like Zestimates are often highly unreliable. They're usually way overpriced or way underpriced. There are many factors that they simply do not account for. I remember a realtor one time said, when a customer told them that their estimate was much higher, and when did Zillow come out and look at it? Obviously, they didn't. And there's really very little way to know what a home is worth without visually laying eyes on it. In recent years, you're probably well aware that values have skyrocketed. And many homeowners never have imagined their equity being what it is today. So, what needs to happen is not an appraisal, but what we call a CMA, a comparable market analysis. And you can do this somewhat on your own. If you go to my website, you will see a search bar in the middle of the page. First of all, you need to know your square footage. There is no way to come up with an accurate price without knowing your square footage. So, if you go on my website, realtorstephendow.kw.com, you can put in your area, and then the next page, you can use filters such as square footage. And if your home is 2,000 square feet, you can go from 1,900 to 2,100 and see where you rank in comparison to your competition. And here's what I use this analogy a lot for people. Let's say you're going to lunch and you want a burger. And McDonald's has a quarter-pound hamburger for $1.99. And Burger King has a quarter-pound hamburger for 99 cents. They look basically the same. They have the same toppings. Where are you going to go? You're going to go with the one for 99 cents. So, we have to strategically price your home. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the cheapest. But we have to see and use the things that make your home stand out. What if McDonald's hamburger had bacon at $1.99? That changes things. And that will influence your decision on which one you buy. So think of it like this. Does your home have an auxiliary garage, which is a second garage in the yard? Does it have a fenced-in yard? Does it have a basement? Does it have a new HVAC? A new roof? These are all things that your competition likely will not have. So those are all selling features. And that's what we have to accentuate in your marketing remarks. Okay? Okay. Now, next thing we want to talk about is preparing your home for the market, which is something a lot of sellers overlook. I've got on this fruit punch kick. I just love fruit punch. I'm 53. Never drank fruit punch in my life in the last few weeks. And now I can't get enough. Okay. So, do not be mistaken. Real estate is a beauty pageant. The prettiest ones not only sell first, but they sell for the most. Can your home be a mess and still sell? Yes. But it will cost you thousands of dollars. If you went by a car lot and you saw two cars, same year, close to the same miles, same features, and one looked like it had been ragged out, garbage in the floorboards, crumbs in the seats, and the other was clean as could be, which one would you want? And which one would you be willing to pay more for? Even though there may not be anything wrong with the dirty one, you're going to think that because of the condition it was kept in, the owner knows it's not worth cleaning up. There's something wrong with it. And that's what home buyers think about a messy home. First impressions are worth thousands. Fresh landscaping. So I went to a house maybe a week and a half ago that had expired. And as I was walking up to the door, I noticed that there was a very narrow walkway. Wouldn't really have been an issue, and I probably would have never known that, except the bushes that were against the house had grown out to where you really couldn't walk the walkway because the bushes were in the way. Walking up to the front door is the first impression a buyer's going to get. And they're already feeling cramped, like there's not enough room, because they can't get down the sidewalk for the bushes. You can no longer look at your home the same way if you're planning on selling it. You've got to look at it like someone who's never seen it before. would look, and someone who is planning on putting the majority of their money on this property. When they walk in, you want to create an atmosphere of peace and calm and relaxation. I strongly suggest you have some candles, you have classical music softly playing, so soft that it would not interrupt conversation. And you need to be gone. One of the worst things is for a seller to be at the showing. Here's why. If there's any negative comment, the seller often gets upset and smarts off and kills the deal right there. And when negative comments happen, that's a good sign. If they were not interested in the house, they wouldn't care. When they make a negative comment, it's a sign that they do like the house and they're trying to negotiate on price. And that's one of the tactics they use. If they are seriously interested, one of the first things they say to the homeowner, what is your bottom dollar? And this puts the homeowner on the spot, and they often don't know how to respond. And if they're just not there, we avoid all that. You want the blinds open. You want as much light as possible. All the lights should be on, including closet lights. The windows should be clean. We want to neutralize. 1 or 2 personal photos is okay, but you do not want an abundance of personal photos. If your home is older or needs a paint job, it is definitely in your best interest to paint that house a neutral color. And if you've got an orange wall or a purple wall, those need to go. They need to go. You need to go. Before you spend any money on anything, though, you need to ask your agent what is the best way to spend your money. This was probably close to 10 years ago. But at that time, carpet was going by the wayside. You know, nobody wants carpet anymore because of allergies. And I had some people, without me knowing, and without me telling them to do anything, replace their flooring and put down more carpet. They could have made so much more money and sold a whole lot quicker if they'd went with a good laminate. Okay, now, before you hire an agent, You want them to specifically tell you what their marketing plan is for your house. You want to be sure they have identified your most likely buyers, your target demographic. They need to go beyond the MLS. The MLS is a powerful tool, but so is social media. And regardless of what many agents will tell you and really believe, so are open houses. Open houses are phenomenal. Even when no one shows up, and you might be, how is that possible? Nobody even came. And that's what kills a lot of agents. And here's one of the reasons why agents don't see the value. They go to an open house and they simply sit there waiting for somebody to come in, and they waste the time. Agents, you never, ever waste your time. Time is your biggest commodity. What you do is you do a virtual open house, making videos of that home and putting that on social media. And I guarantee you will get seen. There will be dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of people who will see that video. I recently did an open house at 9095 Blue Stem Circle here in Bowling Green. And I made a series of 4 videos at that open house. They were seen 5,000 times. 5,000 times. Phenomenal. I have sold many a home from an open house where no one showed. And this happens one of 2 ways. A buyer has been considering the home and too scared to make a move. They see the open house and they're afraid now they're going to lose it. So they get their nerve up and they go ahead and make an offer. Or they see the open house advertising, they can't make it. But because of the extra advertising that gets done with an open house, they come the week later and buy it then. The biggest sale of my career happened from an open house that nobody showed up to. So, don't. That's Sammy's toy. So don't overlook open houses. Okay, here are some listing mistakes to avoid. 1. Well, first of all, let me say this. Your agent is legally bound to follow any legal instructions that you give them. You are the boss. So if you tell me I've got to do something, I've got to do it, provided it's legal. However, experience shows that certain listing decisions are the kiss of death for a sale. 1, mandating that you have a 24-hour notice to show. It's a kiss of death. Many showings happen on the spur of the moment. Being unavailable for those puts you at a serious disadvantage. If the reason for this request is because you're afraid the home won't be show ready, do not worry about that. If the buyers put you on the spot, they are so grateful to get in, they'll overlook a mess. However, if you tell them no, you have likely insulted them and they won't be back. Putting the words sold as is in your listing is a huge mistake. And realtors, it's totally unnecessary. Every home is sold as is unless you specifically say you're going to upgrade or replace something. Okay? Putting as is in the listing says to the buyer there is a huge issue with this home, and the seller knows it. Another mistake. If your home is vacant, or you know you're going to be out before closing date, please advertise your home as immediate possession. There are people who have to be in a home by their closing date, and they don't look at anything other than immediate possession homes. So if your home is going to be available for immediate possession, advertise it. It will give you so many more possibilities for a buyer. As we mentioned before, you need to know your demographic, your target audience. Is it a retiree, a young family, an investor? And you need to advertise to that demographic. Hold on just 1 second. So you may not be aware of this, but not every buyer can buy every home. Buyers who have VA or FHA or rural housing, which is the same thing as USDA loans, have certain requirements on the homes they can purchase. And your home probably will qualify, but may not. So you need to know up front if your home qualifies for those loans. And if it does, those are the majority of the buyers you need to be selling to them with your marketing. And if it doesn't, you need to know that ahead of time so that if you receive an offer from someone with one of these loans, you don't waste your time by accepting that offer only to get a month into the deal and find out your home doesn't qualify. If you have questions about that, give me a call, 606-425-3640. It would take me a few more minutes to really go over that here. And I've already went over on my time. So, not all offers are created equal. A high offer from an unqualified buyer can derail a deal. So, cash offers are the fastest to close and have the fewest contingencies. They can typically close in 2 to 3 weeks. Conventional loans means the buyer is strong financially and can often be closed in 30 days. FHA, VA, and RHS loans have specific requirements as we just discussed. You need to understand that a pre-approval letter is not a guarantee. Okay? There is a difference between pre-approval and pre-qualified, and things can change. So just know that it's not a guarantee. Things are favorable, but not a guarantee. There are certain aspects of an offer that make them stronger, more than just the price. One is earnest money. The more earnest money a buyer puts down, the stronger the deal. Because they don't want to lose that. And if they just walk away, they do. Time on possession. If they're willing to give you longer to get out after closing, that can make all the difference to some buyers. It is not uncommon at all. In fact, it's the norm for buyers to ask sellers to pay their closing costs. I'm going to whoop him. No, I'm not. He got right down. You'd have thought he'd been whooped before. He doesn't. Okay. So, when a buyer asks a seller to pay their closing costs, it is very simple. They can't do the deal if you don't. And some sellers get offended at this. You don't need to get offended. It's simply the only way the buyer can make a deal work. And let's be real honest. If you're not willing to do it, there are plenty of sellers out there who will. But you don't need to. It's not a lose for you. Let's say your home is listed for $200,000 and you get an offer for $200,000, but they're asking for $5,000 in closing costs. Make sure that the wording is closing costs and prepaids or seller's concessions. I've seen deals fall through because the wording did not include and prepaids. And when they got close to closing and that came out, the buyer didn't have the money for the prepaids, which is taxes and insurance. And the seller says, no, we agreed on that amount. I'm not doing any more. So be sure it's written up, closing costs and prepaids. So, anyways, your house is listed and the offers for $200,000, but they want $5,000 in seller concessions. That is really an offer of $195 because you're not going to see that $5,000. If that's unacceptable to you, you don't refuse the offer. You counter back at $205,000, and you include the closing costs. Okay? Same difference to you. You still get your $200,000. They get their closing costs. Everybody wins. Now, here's something else you do. You get both the realtors to agree. You don't pay commission on that $5,000 because that's $5,000 you've not seen. So you shouldn't be paying commission on it. And I've never seen a realtor balk on that. They don't like it at all. Some of them, well, I'll shut up. But there's no point in being that money hungry. It's not going to make a big difference to either agent's pay, but it's going to make several $100 difference in your pocket. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is earnest money. Get down. Get down. You listen real good. Okay. Please do not accept an offer, regardless of how otherwise strong it is, without earnest money. More than 90% of those fall apart because the buyer has no repercussions if they back out, and they often do. If an offer comes in that otherwise you would accept, except there's no earnest money, here's what you do. We will take that offer, but we're going to leave the home on the market. If another offer comes through, you have 24 hours, not 48, not 72. You have 24 hours to produce the earnest money at X amount, or we'll let the other buyer have the house. So, that way, you have a safety net. Now, how much earnest money should you ask for? Well, that depends on your buyer. If your buyer has a VA or rural housing loan, and remember, that's the same thing as USDA. I don't know why they call it one thing sometimes and one thing the other, but they do. I have found that $250 is a sufficient amount to hold them. If it's FHA, that means they have to pay 3.5% down. So $1,000 is not too little to ask for. You will never be more in an advantage or leveraged to get more earnest money than you are at the time of offer. Ask for the 1,000. If it is a conventional one, they're paying down at least 5%. You need 1% of the sales price. If that's $300,000, then that's $3,000. That is not too much. If it's cash, you want a minimum of 5 to 10%. I have seen agents not follow this and have buyers just create chaos right before closing because they're not going to lose that much if it falls apart. So they create turmoil for everybody. So follow those guidelines. Hold on just a second. I don't know what happened here. Okay. Had a little technical problem, but I think everything's okay. Okay. This is what happens when a contract is accepted. The first thing that needs to happen within the first 2 weeks is the inspection. And that inspection will let us know whether the deal's moving forward or we're starting over. Here's what you need to know. Anything that is found in an inspection, if it is made known to the seller and that deal doesn't close, then from that point on, the seller is legally obligated to disclose all of the things found on that inspection. And you better do it. Because if you don't, it will come back to bite you. So it is really in your best interest to negotiate with that buyer on your page. And there's a couple ways you get the odds, things, give them credit, cut down the price. So think about that when you set your price. You may want to push it a couple thousand, couple pennies. After the inspection is done, buyers and sellers are pretty much done in the process. The next major thing that's going to be done is more than one way the appraisal. Once the appraisal is done, and it's not done the day they come out, it's about a week after that. It's actually done. And you're not going to hear anything. It's okay. So no news is good news. Okay? So, as the appraisal is done, typically 2 to 3 weeks, and you have a closing. After that, appraisal is done. Last thing we do is a title search. You know, title companies are usually the ones who do a closing, but also do an attorney's office. Legally, they're supposed to have what's called a lead statement go buy and sell it 3 days before closing. So you can look over the numbers and make sure they're right. When assume because the bank did it, our lawyer did it, it's right. You're off to wrong. So they give you a check. And if you don't have that within 3 days, you need to be making a phone call. Because what you don't want to do is get in and close it. See if they've made a mistake. It's going to cost you $1,000. And you're too late. You need to get back. So stay in your agent, wherever you need to stay on, to make sure that's happening and there are no surprises at the closing. I hope that tonight was very beneficial and that you learned a lot about the process. My name is Steve Dow. You have no idea how much I want to work for you, and I will make you a guarantee. I will always, always, always do what's best for you, not for me. If that costs me money out of my pocket, so be it. Because I believe, and I've proven, that if I put you and your money first, I will have business. I will be well taken care of. And so, folks, do well with Dow is not just a slogan. It is a promise. My number, 606-425-3640. Thank you so much